Hey friends, Bart here. And kind of excitingly here of late, I've heard a lot of good things coming out of the AWS learning community and meeting new people who were just getting into AWS, which is really exciting and cool to me because I got into AWS a long time ago and I've been an AWS trainer now for quite a few years. So to still be meeting new people who are just getting into it, are just getting excited about it, it's really energizing for me and it helps keep me on point and motivated and trying to stay on top of all this training fun that we've got available here. And of course in the CVT Nuggets catalog as well. So today I was thinking a little bit about some of the woes of getting started and thought, well, what would be some good tips that I could give people for how to kind of simplify their AWS learning experience starting out? And I thought of some of the tools that I had to get my hands on. Because I think once you get into the management console the first time, you're kind of like, cool, this is great. And maybe you're like, what do I do next? Okay, so let's kind of pick up from that point and think about some of the best tools that you're going to need to learn to use within AWS. Because the management console is certainly something we should be familiar with. We definitely need to learn a lot about the services and how to use them, of course. Yeah, that's going to be the main part of what you're going to be studying and learning about. And then the other part is the actual components and the management tools like CloudFormation, the command line tools, and of course the system developers kits. Keeping in mind that when we say getting into AWS, that could mean a whole bunch of different things to different people. So if you're going to get certified, let me frame it in that context. If you're going to get certified as a solutions architect, a SysOps administrator, or the AWS developer cert, then these are kind of the tools that you're going to be running into day to day, and you're going to want to certify and study and consume these as a part of your certification efforts. So the first one that I would try to get people thinking about is the AWS Command Line itself, okay? And the CLI tools are available to be installed on a variety of different environments. You can download the media and get them installed on Linux servers, get them installed in PowerShell flavors. It's really up to you to choose what environment's going to work best for you. Pick something that you're comfortable with. But if a lot of you are thinking, I don't really know, Bart, that's what I mean, I'm kind of new to this cloud thing, well, then that's exactly where my opportunity is going to come in. I'm going to tell you to use Cloud9, which we're going to look at in just a minute here, because it'll give you the command line environment with very, very little effort required. And I like that. That's a good place to start. The other things we want to keep in mind too is, of course, thinking about the system developers kits that you heard me talking about, and recognizing that a large portion of developing AWS solution is going to involve writing JavaScript object notation. So you're going to be editing JSON files, you might be editing YAML files, you might be doing some text work, and so you're going to want a text editor of some sort handy to work with, and that's another place where Cloud9 is going to help us out, which we'll look at here in just a moment. And then the other kind of piece to recognize is that this is also going to make it possible for you to begin working with a basic EC2 instance environment. So you kind of begin to understand some of that virtual server componentry there. And again, this is where Cloud9 comes in. Cloud9 takes all of these different opportunities and makes them available to you in a browser-based development environment. Now, I know that sounds maybe a little terrifying for some of us who aren't software developers, but basically it's just a text editor and it's a little command prompt piece. It's attached to an EC2 instance, and it has a whole bunch of nice little helpers in there for JavaScript editing, for YAML editing, and this is going to be handy for working with most of the AWS templates, identity and access management policies, CloudFormation resources, test payloads. And of course, if you get into Lambda and the serverless application model, then there are huge wins to be had in the Cloud9 world as well. So over the next few minutes, I just wanted to show you how to get a Cloud9 environment up and running. Remember that the Cloud9 environments that I'm going to show you here are available within the AWS free tier. So if you just signed up for your new account, you can use these EC2 instance-based resources for your environment, and they're part of that free tier. So let's jump on in. I'll head over to the webpage and we'll get that going. Cool, so I'm over here in the management console and I'm just gonna cruise up here under services and we'll take a look for Cloud9. Again, one of the reasons I like to bring this up is because at first glance, you might see Cloud9 integrated development environment and IDE, and you might just kind of glance over it because it doesn't sound like something that a solutions architect or SysOps person might need to look at. But again, it has all of those other cool tools built into it already, and that's kind of why I'm bringing this up here. So from right here, you can see I have a couple of environments built already. And I can access them, but I want to go ahead and create a new one. Cool, and I'll just go ahead and call this my lab playground environment that I'm going to use for breaking stuffs. Look at that Z on there, just to be edgy and, internet-y and stuff. Go ahead and say next step. Excellent. So environments have a couple of different options, and you can kind of see where they're getting into the different platform that you want to run it on. Now, the easiest way is to just take the system defaults here. That will build an EC2 instance in the background, and it will hook it up to your Cloud9 environment so that when you're on the command line in Cloud9, you're actually running commands on a remote EC2 instance, which is pretty cool because I didn't really have to manage the instance. They're just kind of handling that for me in the background. Again, stick around. We're going to see more of that in just a sec. So I could choose to create a new instance. If you're an advanced user and you have pre-existing environments that you want to work with, SSH pre-shared key options are available here. You can just provide the destination and the username that they should log in. Okay. They also offer the ability to set up environment variables. Again, these are advanced options. Just want to point out that Cloud9 does have something for beginners. And of course, as you get more experience with environment management, these other tools become interesting. And keep in mind, you can also programmatically build a lot of these Cloud9 components as well. Continuing on for now, I'm going to go back up here and put it into EC2 mode. Notice they have a couple of different sizing options. Now, this is a potential cost implication. The T2 Micro and the T3 Small are going to be the ones that are going to be most cost effective and still possibly fit within that free tier for the longest amount of time. If you choose one of the other instance types, of course, you're going to possibly be incurring charges there. Be careful here. T2 Micro is the default option. Stick with that one if you're not sure what you want to be choosing. Okay, as your projects grow, you may choose to jump up into a variety of other options that are available here, and Cloud9 supports that as well. Moving on down, notice that it is Amazon Linux based by default or Ubuntu server. Sorry, Windows friends. Unfortunately, they don't have a Windows platform for Cloud9, although the command line and many of the tools are PowerShell friendly. That's something you'd have to build on your own. And I suppose we'll get back to that in some other potential lesson down the road. For now, this is going to be, again, kind of the easiest path to getting started. I tend to use Amazon Linux 9 times out of 10 unless I begin developing something and find I have package problems with finding compatibility for the software that I need to run along with the environment. So typically stick with Amazon Linux. Again, also fits comfortably into that free tier if you're staying at the T2 Micro. Moving on down, notice there's a cost savings option. This is really cool, and it's one of the benefits behind using Cloud9. If you forget to turn your resources off, you generally pay for them at AWS. So Cloud9 will go in, and after you stop using the browser environment for a while, it'll shut your instances off so you stop incurring charges. Very cool. Okay, not just thinking about how we can use the tools, but how can they be cost effective? If that isn't cloud computing, then I don't know what is. That's the beautiful part of it. So for me, I'll say, yeah, 30 minutes, that looks great. Notice you can set that as a custom time on it. Moving on down, there is a role that's associated with Cloud9 in this case. And this is kind of classic AWS form here. That role grants permissions to Cloud9 to go and build an instance and set up this environment for you. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to let them use that. Advanced users may want to go in here and customize those, something an administrator would probably set up in the background. Moving on down, by default, this is going to get deployed into your default VPC and into one of the publicly available subnets there. Now notice that you can change this here, friends. I'm trying to show you a simple way to get started, so keep these defaults as they are and continue next stepping your way through launching the environment. Cool, so we'll go ahead and say next step. Excellent. Okay, it gives me a nice little recap. That looks fine. And I'll go ahead and say create environment. And there it goes. Now, as you might imagine, this is going to take a few minutes to launch, and what's happening in the background is Cloud9 is building an EC2 instance first, so that takes a few minutes for it to instantiate that. It will be running a few setup options on it to get it talking to my Cloud9 dashboard, and here in a minute in the dashboard, I'll be able to look at the file system on the instance right here through the browser, and then also run commands directly through the little windows that they have available there as well. Super excited. Okay, looking good. So here we are in the Cloud9 dashboard, and we've got kind of a little helper splash screen here. Just to navigate around, down at the bottom, notice that you have this command environment, and this is my little EC2 instance. And if you take a look at this, yeah, here I am. I'm logged in as EC2-user. And if you take a look at the working directory, here we are, home-ec2-user/environment. That is the same set of information that's showing up right up here where it says lab playground. So if I do a quick listing in here, there is readme.md and there is readme right there. That's the same file. And this is one of the other cool things I like about Cloud9. Cloud9 handles the permissions problems that we would often run into having to set up with an EC2 instance, such as setting up access keys and secret keys. You'll notice that I'm running these commands I never configured any access keys. I didn't build a special user for myself. I just ran it using the regular AWS account credentials that I already had available. So this simplifies a lot of the big processes. I didn't have to install the command line. I didn't have to configure all the user environment properties there. It's just running as if I was already logged into the command line and using it. Honestly, this is really cool because it's really similar to some of the ways that Azure like Cloud Shell works. So this is one of the reasons I really try to get new users working with it. I now have this environment ready to roll, and I can use it for any sort of testing that I want to do within the AWS world using this environment. One of the other cool things is that because it's a browser-based IDE, as I save files and write scripts and kind of work in this environment, it just persists it for me in the background. And that means that I don't have to manage a whole bunch of extra work when I'm first learning how to use AWS. And let's face it, that was part of the goal of making things simpler for our learners. So get yourself a Cloud9 environment up and running, pick all the default options, and that will land you right here. Now, one of the things that I also like to follow this up with is pointing out that the AWS command line is difficult. There's a lot of potential options that are available out there. And the first time you start learning any sort of syntactical command line language like this, do yourself a favor and get tab complete working.